In today's video, I'm talking all about gimbals and Glidecams, so let's get right into it. Hey, what's up? It's Chris from Brooker Films, and yes, in today's video we're talking all about gimbals and Glidecams and why you would choose one over the other. Now, first of all, before we jump into the differences and the pros and cons of each, we first need to talk about what a gimbal and what a Glidecam is. And essentially, they are both devices made to stabilize your camera shot. So rather than holding your camera in your hands and having really ugly camera shake, or putting your camera on a tripod and having really boring static shots, you can put your camera onto a Glidecam or a gimbal to get some really beautiful camera movement that is really smooth, really seamless, and has no camera shake. So first of all, the Glidecam works with a counterbalance system. You have a handle in the middle of this pole, and the weight at the bottom of the Glidecam should match the same weight as the camera on top. So essentially you've got the same weight on the top, the same weight on the bottom, and by perfectly balancing the weight at the top and the bottom, you get a really awesome and really smooth camera movement. So just for that very reason, gimbals can look extremely different to a Glidecam. A Glidecam has weights at the bottom and a camera at the top, whereas a gimbal can have just a pole and the camera, or you could have a big frame with the camera in the middle. There doesn't have to be a counterbalance system with a gimbal. Now, depending on which Glidecam that you go for, there are many different variations. You've got the HD2000, HD4000, the Devin Graham Signature Series, and this is the one that I use. But regardless of which one you choose, it's going to cost less than £1,000. The Devin Graham Signature Series Glidecam is probably the most expensive Glidecam on the market, but still that is only around £800, or at least it was when I bought the Glidecam. The HD2000 and the HD4000, they're for smaller cameras and they're even more affordable. They're only a few £100s, so they are extremely affordable for most filmmakers. Now, depending on which gimbal you go for will depend on the price, but something like the DJI Ronin 2 will cost you thousands of pounds. Of course, you can get smaller gimbals like a Ronin S, for example, and this will also cost only a few £100s. Now, one of the reasons why I love the Glidecam so much is because it does not require batteries. It is completely 100% manual, no batteries, no electronics whatsoever. And this basically means if you're filming all day, you're not going to have to worry about running out of battery, swapping batteries mid-shoots. You just can keep going and going, and it doesn't really matter how long you're filming for. Another real advantage to not having a battery is you don't have to worry so much about the weather. If for some reason you have to go out and film in the rain, fortunately, you can get rain protectors for your camera, but you can't get rain protectors for a gimbal or a Glidecam because there are so many moving parts. So because the Glidecam doesn't have batteries, it basically means you can shoot in the rain and you don't have to worry about the equipment breaking. With a gimbal, because this is battery powered, because it is electronic, if it's raining, you cannot mix water and electricity. The two do not go together well. So unfortunately, if it's raining, you have to get rid of the gimbal and you have to either go handheld or swap to a tripod. Now, my next point will vary depending on the size of your camera, but I shoot on a Sony FS7, which is a big, heavy camera. And for a camera of this size, I would need a gimbal much bigger than a Ronin S. So I would need something like the DJI Ronin 2 or a Movi. And these things are ridiculously huge. And this basically means they are heavy, they are really difficult to travel with, and they're a bit of a nightmare. But the really cool thing with the Glidecam is it breaks down into 3 pieces, and they are very easy to pack and therefore very easy to travel with. So this is my Glidecam. It comes in 3 pieces. So this is the weight at the bottom of the Glidecam. This is the pole, and this section here is essentially the gimbal. This part is where the stabilization comes from. And then this is the camera plate at the top. And once you put all of these together, you get your Glidecam. But because you can strip these down into 3 different parts, it means you can throw everything into a bag, you can strap it to the outside of the bag, and you're good to go. But the problem is if you've got something like a Ronin 2, for example, it needs to be carefully looked after. It needs a lot of boxes to pack this into, and this can make traveling sometimes very awkward. So a big advantage to the Glidecam is it's very travel friendly. So the Glidecam does not require batteries, it is more travel friendly, and you can create some really nice, really smooth movement from it. So what are the advantages of a gimbal? Why would you choose a gimbal over a Glidecam when a Glidecam has so many positive things? Well, unlike a Glidecam, a gimbal is extremely easy and extremely fast to learn. As long as the camera is perfectly balanced on the gimbal, then you can pretty much pick up the gimbal, start running around and get really beautiful, smooth camera shots. Whereas with the Glidecam, there is more of a learning curve. Because there's no motors, because there's no electronics helping you out, everything is down to the camera operator, which means there is a really big learning curve with the Glidecam. Another reason why you would choose a gimbal is because they are more intelligent than a Glidecam. Because they are electronically controlled, they have motors, it means you can use some really smart features. There's this really cool feature on the Ronin S, and you can also find this on much bigger gimbals. And you basically have a transmitter, so you could use your phone, or you have an actual transmitter. And wherever you move this transmitter, the camera and the gimbal will move at the exact same time. So this basically means you can have a camera operator just controlling the gimbal, they can be running around, and you can have somebody specifically moving the camera with a wireless monitor to move the camera to a specific point. This means you're going to get much more accurate footage, you're not going to miss the moment, and you have more control and more flexibility. And with gimbals, as long as you're relatively careful with your camera movement, as long as you're not being too reckless with the movement, then you can pretty much pass this between people and you won't be able to tell the difference between camera operators. If you had something like a Glidecam, then trying to pass the camera from one operator to another mid-shot would be extremely difficult and near impossible. But if you have a gimbal, because the motors and the computer inside of the gimbal is so intelligent that when you pass this from one operator to another, it's going to be extremely seamless. This means you can be a lot more creative with your shots and you can get some really awesome and really creative shots with the gimbal. So that leads me on to the question, which one is better, the Glidecam or the gimbal? Which one should you add to your shopping cart and purchase and start using on your next production? Each and every camera operator is different, and each and every production will require a different set of skills and a different set of tools to make the video come to life. So just because a Glidecam works for me doesn't mean a Glidecam could work for you. It's up to you to experiment with both, weigh up the positives and the negatives of both, and figure out which one is the most effective solution for you. But like I say though, take this video with a grain of salt. It is completely up to you. Weigh up the positives and the negatives and make an educated decision on which one is best for you. So if you found this video helpful at all, then please do let me know in that comment section below. And of course, don't forget to subscribe. I upload a brand new video every single day, and the best way to stay updated on everything that I upload here is to press that subscribe button. So thank you for watching, and I will see you tomorrow.